still haven't really gotten back into those activities, but my eating habits have stayed the same. The biggest thing is to go at your own pace. Do not try and go in there and kill it and try and, ramp yourself up and do what everybody else is doing. I started to notice, at least about, a month or a month and a half in, that I was really getting tired. I don't necessarily personally believe in, going cold turkey. I didn't initially start out this cut with like, all right, I'm cutting out all sugar, straight chicken, rice, and green beans 24/7. I was used to, eating whatever I want. I'm a big, I'm a big sweets guy. I like my cookies. I like my baked cookies. I like my ice cream. I like all of that. I like cake. But the biggest thing is not necessarily knowing the goal. It's just starting. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy David, back with another video. Y'all already know what we're doing on this channel, man. And today I'm going to be talking to y'all about the good and bad of cutting or dieting, I should say, as well as the lessons that I've learned from going through my own journey of cutting this year. As you know, if you've been following me for a little while, you know that I've been on a cut for the last few months, and that this is the first time that I've ever done a cut in my life. I've always been into fitness. I've always, been in the gym. I've been working out for about 13 years now. So I've gotten a lot of experience when it comes to, working out and things like that. And I have come from a background of being very skinny to where I became more muscular, not coming from being more on the larger side and slimming down. So I've always had particularly a small frame, and that's pretty much carried me throughout my whole life. When I was in, high school, I played a lot of sports, so I was very active. Whenever I got to college, I got a lot more serious about working out and things like that. And then COVID happened. I wasn't able to be as active as I was, in the past, playing a lot of pickup games, football, basketball, all those things were helped keeping me, very active and keeping me, very slim and in the frame of body that I like to be in. So when COVID happened, a lot of that went downhill, and, I never really got back into it. Honestly, it's 3 years from now, 3 years removed from, COVID, and I still haven't really gotten back into those activities. But my eating habits have stayed the same, as well as, I've also been, now working professionally. So now I have a 9 to 5. So I'm sitting down a lot of the day. So I'm not as active walking around and doing the things that I used to do anymore. So I have to, start to supplement, other ways of which I can get, more cardiovascular activity going. So this year I finally made, the decision to myself that I wanted to challenge myself and cut for the first time. I wanted to eventually see how far I could push myself. Could I learn some things about my body in terms of the certain things that I eat and how they would affect my body? Could I, ramp up, my workouts? Could I also maybe start implying 2-a-days with cardio to start becoming more at a calorie deficit? I'm burning off more calories than I'm consuming day after day. So also with that meant that I needed to start actually tracking and being more mindful about how many calories I was taking in. So all of these things were some goals of mine that I really wanted to challenge myself and get into. So this video, I'm really going to dive into all of the lessons that I've learned and the good and bad that I've seen from my own personal journey over the last, 3.5 months while I've been cutting. So let's get into it. So for me, I've never been a person to really like cardio. I've never enjoyed, running on the treadmill, doing the stationary bike, all those little machines up in the gym. I've just never been a fan of it. I've been more personally a person who likes to be active, do fun cardio, such as, boxing, such as basketball, like I mentioned earlier. But, with this cut, obviously I had to, start applying different methods of, cardiovascular activity. I first started out with doing a lot of HIIT workouts. So on Sundays, I would do HIIT and, add another level of, cardio activity, but also like a different way of working out and getting my heart rate up on the weekends rather than the same old I'm used to with the gym. So trying to switch it up and get my body used to those things. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is kind of like my 2-a-days. So that's kind of where I started out. I normally work out in the mornings, but But in the mornings, I only have a set amount of time to really get a workout in before I have to go to work. So I don't have time to do, 30, 40 plus minutes of cardio while also working out. So with that, meant I had to start doing 2-a-days. So in the mornings, I would do my workouts as normal, whether, I'm doing legs, whether I'm doing back, chest, whatever it may be. And then in the afternoons, once I would get off of work, I would go back to the gym and I would do some form of cardio. And for me, I personally enjoyed lightly, but it was my favorite out of most other machines that were there. But I did the Stairmaster. So for me, I started out very slow. The biggest thing is to go at your own pace. Do not try and go in there and kill it and try and, ramp yourself up and do what everybody else is doing, or do what you heard somebody else on, YouTube say or Instagram say. Go at your own pace. Push yourself, but, don't do it too much. Remember, this is a long journey. Pace yourself throughout however long you plan to, diet or cut or whatever your goals is, just do it at a reasonable rate. So for me, when it came to it, when I started my 2-a-days and doing cardio, I started out with the Stairmaster, and I started out with 30 minutes. I ramped up the levels as I saw fit, as I, wanted to challenge myself, didn't go too fast, didn't want to, outpace anybody else. I'm doing my own thing. So I did that, and I did that for quite some time. So for about, a week or two, I kept it at, 30 minutes. Then I ramped it up, I did 35, then I did 40, then I did 45. Towards the end of my cut, like around now, I'm doing about 45 to 50 minutes of cardio with, pretty, average level speed. So I've done that for quite some time, and I've come to, make 2-a-days a part of just my routine, and making sure that that's the way of me exerting those extra calories, so that I'm more at a calorie deficit every single day that I'm eating. To tie into that, the kind of, downside of that, or just the lesson that I learned from that, is that, that takes a lot of energy. Now I'm expending, more energy, more cardiovascular activity. Now my heart's having to work a little bit more, and also at a different time of day. So now I'm, exerting more energy than I'm used to doing, day in and day out. So one thing for me was that I started to notice, at least about, a month or a month and a half in, that I was really getting tired. Like, it would be days, in the middle of the workday, 2 o'clock. And I'm like, bobbing my head a little bit, because I'm spending. I don't have more energy, to give at the moment, because it's just like all my energy is going towards cardio. I'm at a calorie deficit. My energy levels are just not there. So that's just something to be mindful of when, you start this journey of, cutting or dieting, that, your energy levels are not going to be the same that they were before. You will eventually adapt. I found that at that month and a half mark, it definitely, started to get to me, and it took about, 2 to 3 weeks for me to eventually, kind of get over that hump and start feeling, my energy levels weren't too bad anymore, and I got used to it. So the second part to that is also just sleep is super important. You got to make sure that you're getting in your, gotta make sure that you're getting in as much sleep as you possibly can. For me, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, I honestly on this cut probably operated at about at least 6 hours consistently of sleep every night, maybe 7, but typically 6. And that's mostly just because I'm just busy. I tried for quite some time to try and get more hours of sleep. It just never really fell that way, because just with work, with trying to get videos out and things like that, I just was too busy to get everything I needed to get done within a certain time frame in order to get more sleep. But I adapted. But that's one thing I just want you to be mindful of. You got to get as much sleep as you possibly need in order to continue through this journey and stay strong. The other thing that I noticed with the whole being more tired and trying to get sleep is that I had a little bit of mood changes with that as well, like mood swings and things like that. I found that things that I wasn't normally agitated by, I was getting agitated by. Things that maybe I did get agitated by, but it took a lot for me to actually get irritated or say something about it, I was a lot less, my temper was a lot shorter. I, got agitated a lot quicker at those things. So that's just one thing, just to be mindful of, that, you will have those, mood swings a little bit that will come just as a result of, you going through these changes with your body. The second piece to this is groceries. So the biggest tip that I would have to give you when it comes to, groceries and the foods that you're taking in is create yourself a list. For me, I'm a very simple guy. I do not like to switch things up. I don't like to be all over the place with things. I like to, have a simple plan and execute it. That works best for me. And, I find that you should just choose the best thing that works for you. But for me, simple works. So with that, I created a grocery list of the certain items that I knew I needed every single week, whether that was, water, eggs, my chicken breast, rice, green beans, ground meat, whatever it may be, whatever it is that I need, even supplements, making sure that I have, protein, making sure I have protein bars, making sure, I have, my branched chain amino acids, making sure that I am stocked up on all the things that I need. And I created a simple grocery list that had all the items that I need from week to week. And every time I go to the store, whenever I was going to the store, I would make sure that I stick strictly to that list. Now, it did come to a point where, because I'm doing those 2-a-days and I have to do cardio in the afternoons, Kayla was going to the store for me and getting those groceries for me. And I would just send her the same list every single week of the items that I needed every single week. Definitely good to have somebody in your corner to, do those things for you. That she's definitely a blessing to me, especially during this whole, cut that I've been going through. But if that's not the case for you and you're by yourself, make sure you plan accordingly. Like, utilize your weekends, utilize your free time to go to the store and get the items that you need. Even if you're not out of what you have right now and it's gonna last you a little bit into the next week, don't wait until the next week comes and you're almost out and now you gotta make things move and whatnot, because you still gotta get your cardio in. So you gotta make sure that you give yourself time and that you prep ahead of time, that okay, if I'm gonna be running out of food by Wednesday, I need to go ahead and go to the store on Sunday and just have those items so that they're ready to go, especially like prepping your food and things like that. Now, on the subject of prepping, now, if you're someone who, maybe works from home all the time, then this might not apply to you, as much. But if you're someone who, goes into the office every single day, or is even in a hybrid situation like I only go into the, office 2 times a week. So on those days, I gotta make sure that I'm not, deviating from my plan. I'm not deviating from my diet or from, what I said I'm gonna be eating. So that means it takes prep. That means I need to, the night before, be fixing, my meals, putting them in containers, whether it's 2 meals or however many I need to get me through the work day while being at work. I need to have that with me. I need to have my protein shake, put my protein powder in the shaker cup and bring that with me. Second part of that is that whenever I get off of work, instead of having to kill time coming all the way back to work or coming all the way back to home, I put my workout clothes for cardio in my gym bag and bring that with me. That way I can go straight from work, straight to the gym and get my cardio done and come back home, instead of having to possibly come back home, get too comfortable, and then now I'm not going to the gym. So by doing all these things and prepping these things the night before and bringing them with you to work, it helps you stay disciplined and it helps you stay on track with your goals. And if you're looking for more tips on how to stay healthy while working your 9 to 5, check out this video right here that I did on a bunch of different tips that you can do to implement into your own daily lifestyles and habits in order to create that healthy lifestyle for yourself. I want to go back to the cardio piece that I was talking about earlier. So one thing I did learn about myself was also the most effective forms of cardio for myself. I did try a few different things while on this cut. So I tried the Stairmaster, I tried the treadmill, which normally the treadmill was either, doing like a run, I think it's intervals they call it. So I would run for about a mile, then take about a quarter of a mile of a walk and then run again, quarter of a mile, then run again. That would be a form of cardio that I would do. You could also do, the 3.0 speed to 3.5 speed with the incline of, 5 to 10, whatever is your preference. You could do that for however long. I did that form. I also did, you know, the bike for a little while when I had a little hamstring injury. That's also another effective way of doing cardio. It all just depends, but for me, I found that I didn't enjoy the treadmill so much. The treadmill was fine in terms of the running. I felt like that was at a fast enough pace for me, but it just wasn't super sustainable. And I didn't enjoy the walking on the incline. I felt that it just, it hurt my shins a little bit. It just wasn't comfortable. Like, yeah, I was, you know, it was a form of cardio. My heart rate was getting up there, but it just wasn't the most effective exercise for me. And again, these are all, you know, what I experienced from these different things. You might feel differently. You might enjoy the treadmill more than you enjoy, you know, the Stairmaster, or you might enjoy the bike, the stationary bike, more than all of these, you know, or you might enjoy, you know, just going outside and running. But for me, and what I'll say in terms of, you know, running outside versus the treadmill, when it comes to, you know, doing your cardio and being on a cut, I would say I'd rather you do the treadmill than running outside. Reason being is because the treadmill holds you accountable and it keeps you true to yourself. When you're on the treadmill, you have to keep a certain pace, and you know the pace that you're keeping because the screen shows you. When you're outside and running, yeah, of course you can have your Apple Watch or whatever you have, like a Fitbit, that, you know, tells you and gives you all this information, but you can slow down, you can, you know, ramp things up, you have more control over how fast you're going when it comes to, you know, running outside, which cardio is best when you can keep that high elevated heart rate for a long period of time. That's basically what cardio is. So it's best, you can get a better form of cardio by running on the treadmill rather than running outside, in my opinion. You might feel differently. The other thing, so again, going back to the original point here, I found that the Stairmaster was the most effective piece of cardio, or most effective cardio that I did while on this cut, because I felt like it engages your largest muscle of your body, which means that my heart is having to work and pump blood to those muscles, and it has to work a lot harder than all the other exercises that I mentioned here. So with that being, now my heart rate is getting elevated. At the same time, now I'm also having to, it's a constant motion, and it's not necessarily that I'm having to expend a whole lot of energy in terms of, you know, running sprints or jogging on the treadmill. It's at, you know, your own pace of going up, you know, steps, and it's very repetitive. It's very easy to, you know, kind of get in a groove. And for me, I found it to be kind of what I enjoyed the most and what I kind of stuck to throughout the whole cutting journey. For you, it might be differently, but I would say experiment with different types of, you know, cardio pieces of cardio equipment, and see what, you know, works best for you. See what your body responds more to. I found that, you know, on weeks that I did mostly Stairmaster versus over the treadmill, that I shedded more pounds, or looked better at the end of the week, I should say, than the weeks that I did more treadmill than the Stairmaster. So it's all going to depend, but, you know, it's a trial and error. This thing here is a fitness journey. It's trial and error. So try for yourself and see what works best for you. So the last thing I really want to talk about here is kind of the psychology behind, you know, dieting and cutting, and it really just boils down to your discipline. You have to get to a point where you are on a mission, you have a goal set, and that you're not going to deviate from it. And the way to best, you know, achieve that discipline and achieve that, you know, and keep that mindset that you have, is to give yourself, you know, rewards. I don't necessarily personally believe in, you know, going cold turkey. When I started this journey, like I said, I went at my own pace. So I didn't initially start out this cut with like, all right, I'm cutting out all sugar, I'm cutting out all my cheat meals, I'm going straight chicken, rice, and green beans 24/7. No, I didn't do that, because that wouldn't have been sustainable. I would have probably fallen off and been a lot worse than what I was, you know, beforehand. So I found that it was best to just go at my own pace. I initially started out with the first week I actually started cutting. I actually ate the exact same way that I was eating before. All I did now was actually track what I was eating to actually understand how many calories am I taking in on a daily. Like what is my body used to actually, consuming on a week to week basis. And then once I got those numbers, now I was like, all right, this is how I can cut back. I can cut this meal. I can cut this meal out. I can start doing this more, start doing that more. And then that's how I can get to the numbers that I really want to be without having to go, straight cold turkey, like I was saying. So I believe in rewarding yourself. So if you did a whole week of, eating healthy, sticking to your diet, sticking to your, your plan, I believe that you should get some type of reward at the end of the week, which means that, I'm not saying a full cheat day, I'm saying a cheat meal. And if you're going to do a cheat meal on that particular day, make sure that you do some type of cardio and that you maybe do some type of workout, do some type of physical activity to where, you still end up at either a calorie deficit or you kind of break even. You don't want to overdo it on these days that you reward yourself, because then you're messing up all that hard work that you did before. One thing I definitely that clicked for me psychologically was that I was used to eating whatever I want. I'm a big I'm a big sweets guy. I like my cookies. I like my baked cookies. I like my ice cream. I like all of that. I like cake. But one thing for me was once I started really understanding how many calories was in those things, and also what sugar does to the body and how it really affects your metabolism. When I started calculating those numbers of what I just ate and how it did not, like I just ate, 4 or 5 cookies and, I feel good right now, but it's honestly not going to sustain me later on. Like I'm going to be hungry again later on, but this was, 300-400 calories, and me doing cardio on the Stairmaster, it takes me maybe like, 20-25 minutes to burn, 300 to 400 calories. So it's like, was it really worth it? The 4 or 5 cookies that I just ate in like maybe a 5-minute sitting, is it worth me having to be on that, Stairmaster and like having to burn all those calories? So when you start to really think about it, it starts to make you think Sorry, y'all, the camera overheated. So back to what I was saying. It really started making me think about, is it really worth it when it comes to, this quick cheat meal or this quick part of me cheating on my diet? Is it really worth it? It really helped me from caving in the middle of the week when I knew that I had a cheat meal coming at the end of the week. That really kept it in the back of my mind. It's like, all right, just stay disciplined, keep doing the cardio, keep, being at that calorie deficit. And then at the end of the week, we can cheat and we can get, that meal that we're looking for, or that, that you can satisfy our sweet tooth like we want to, Another thing that I found that was super helpful for me was finding like protein bars that were a little bit more on the sweet side, that I found like, for those late night cravings when, it's really hitting me and it's like I really want something sweet, I would just have one of those protein bars. So now I'm getting, 20-25 extra, grams of protein in my diet. Plus, I'm satisfying my sweet tooth, so I'm not breaking, my diet, right? And the biggest thing I would say is just stay consistent. The body is so amazing in the way it adapts and how it can, really, dial in at times when you start to really be consistent. The body likes consistency. So the more you can be, consistent with your meals, more consistent with, the way in which your workout plan, the body's is going to like that, and it's also going to adapt to that. So over time, in the very beginning, it's going to be really hard. You're going to have a really hard time with probably controlling your appetite if you're used to eating, that excess amount of calories. But over time, if you continue to, get your body used to eating at that calorie deficit, your body's going to eventually adapt, and it's not going to give you those hunger cravings that you're, getting in the very beginning. You're going to start to learn to, adapt other ways of, like, you know, drinking water to curb your appetite and stuff like that. So it's a whole lot of things that you can learn from, you know, cutting and the good and the bad. But at the end of the day, it's a journey that you are on and you set the pace. So all you have to do is just start, and then, you know, figure out where you want to go at the end. You know, I think a lot of times, you know, we all know the goal that we want to get to. We always know that. But the biggest thing is not necessarily knowing the goal, it's just starting. It's like, and like I said earlier in this video, it's not about quitting cold turkey. It's not about, you know, I'm cutting out this, I'm cutting out that, I'm just going to strictly eat this. It's like, no, I'm going to slowly implement, you know, these healthy meals into my diet. And I'm going to slowly, you know, maybe implement more physical activity into my daily, you know, habits. And it's slowly, you know, adding those things into your, your daily lifestyle that's going to eventually get you where you want to go. I think a lot of times people jump in a little too early or a little too hard, and then they just fall off even harder, you know. Unless you have, you know, major health risk and your doctor is coming to you and saying, like, you need to, like, stop doing this right now, I think it's best to just go at your own pace and, you know, figure out what that pace is for you. And I think that is going to help you ultimately get where you want to go. So I hope y'all enjoyed that, man. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and we out, man. Stay prayed up. Let's get it.